It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Athletes Unlimited professional softball player, Randi Rupp. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play professional softball?
So growing up, pro softball wasn't super big. And so it's not something that I dreamed about growing up. I definitely wanted to go play in college, but I thought that was going to be my extent of softball and I was going to be done after my 4 years at school. And then I was going to move on and find something else to do. And then I think it was my sophomore year at Texas State, Kat Osterman was my pitching coach, and she had asked if pro ball would be something that I'd be interested in after I was done at Texas State. And I shut her down immediately. And I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to be done. I want to play my 4 years here at school. And then, I want to move on to something else. And then my senior year, she asked me again, is professional softball something that you would be interested in, that you would probably be pretty good at, and you need to look into it. And so my answer changed my senior year, and I was like, it's something that I want to give a shot at, and just see if I would like it and continue playing. And so I'm so glad I did. And it's been a fun adventure, but it's not something that I grew up wanting to be a pro softball player. And so now I look back at younger kids and, they'll put on their paper for school what they want to do when they grow up, and it's professional softball. And so I think that us girls or us young women do a good job at just keeping the dream alive and allowing those young girls to dream for something that, they can attain.
What was it like playing for Texas State in college?
Texas State is super special to me. I grew up about 3 hours from San Marcos, and one of the high school softball pitchers that went to my same high school, I looked up to her, and she ended up going to play at Texas State. And so one weekend we drove down to San Marcos and watched her play. And I remember sitting in the stands thinking to myself that I want to be in their shoes one day. I want to play on that same field one day. And I want to play for those coaches. And, San Marcos is beautiful. And so about 5 or 6 years later, I'm on an official visit at Texas State, and, the rest is history. So, it was just a dream come true. I've loved my 4 years, 4.5 really, at Texas State. I've loved every second of it. And I truly believe that program has molded me into the player and person I am today.
What was it like putting on the Texas State softball jersey? And did you always know that you wanted to go to Texas State?
So I always wanted to go somewhere close to home, but far enough to where mom and dad can surprise us for lunch every day. And so Texas State, like I said, it's about 3 hours from Houston. And so I knew that my mom and dad could come and watch us play on the weekends, and they would be able to make a lot of the games, which meant a lot to me. And then I also have a twin sister, and we were a package deal when we were going through the recruiting process. And so we wanted to go to a school where both of them are a school that was both interested in the both of us. And so Texas State gave my sister and I both an opportunity, and it's something that, we couldn't pass up. And I'm super thankful for, all that they've done for us. And I remember when I'm a tiny freshman putting on the jersey, it just felt just a sense of relief, because we grow up for so long wanting to get a scholarship and wanting to go play at the next level. And one of my dreams, was to go play in college. And so I remember, yes, it was super nerve-wracking and I was nervous, but just a sense of relief, because it's all the hard work had paid off, and I was finally getting to live out one of my dreams of playing D1 softball. So, and it was super special to me because I got to do it with my twin sister.
What was that feeling like of going through the recruitment process with your twin sister and actually finally, obviously, playing with your twin sister in college?
The recruitment process is probably one of the most stressful things I've ever been through. It's tough, especially, back in the day when you could get recruited when you're in middle school. We're 13, 14, 15 years old trying to figure out where we want to spend, the next part of our life at. And so it was super stressful. And I remember that I put all the stress and all the answers on my sister because, it was a lot. Trying to figure out what best suited the both of us. And so I remember telling Sarah, wherever we go, you decide. I don't care where we go, you pick, and I will be happy. And thank goodness she picked Texas State, but she did handle a lot of that recruitment process because like I said, it was very overwhelming and stressful, and one of the hardest decisions that I had to make at the time. And so being able to do that with somebody side by side was awesome, and it was super special. And she handled it like a champ, and she picked Texas State, and now looking back, I'm so glad she did.
What's it like, obviously, going from Texas State and then making it into the professional softball community in the NPF?
Yeah, so going into the NPF, I had no idea what to expect. Obviously, Kat played quite a few years in the NPF, and so she told me a little bit about what to expect going into it. But the biggest thing is she told me that I was prepared and I'm ready and I deserve to be there, which was a huge confidence boost. But also, going into where you have a pitching coach in college, and they're studying every batter, and they have the scouting reports in their hands, and they're calling the pitches. And then you go into the pro ball in the NPF, where I was with the Cleveland Comets. You have to do all that yourself. You have to make sure that you're paying attention on previous batters and remembering, what they hit well and what they struggled with, and trying to make sure that you take notes of all of that, because now you are in charge of throwing what you want to throw as a pitcher. And so I struggled a little bit with that, just trying to figure out me and not being so dependent on a coach or my twin sister behind the plate. And so it was a great experience, but it's I grew so much from that, just trying to figure out my life as an individual, because I go from playing softball with a twin sister my whole life to going across the world or across the country and not knowing a whole lot of people and trying to figure it out by myself. And so it was a roller coaster, lots of ups and downs, but I grew so much in that first year that, looking back, it's made me a better athlete. And, I've learned a lot from that.
What was the transition like from you, from obviously going from being with your twin sister from high school, even youth and college, to now being on your own with the Cleveland Comets?
It was tough. It was very tough at first. I'm not going to lie. I struggled big time the first couple of weeks, just trying to figure out the ropes and trying not to be so dependent on someone behind the plate. And then, I go to where even in college, when Sarah, my twin sister, wasn't catching me, she was still in the dugout with me. And so now I'm trying to go to figure out that I have to build a relationship with my catcher, where I've kind of been fortunate growing up to where it was already there. And so just trying to get to know the catchers on the team so we could, be in sync and be a battery. And so I had to do that quickly because I flew in and we had a game that day. So it's not like we had a couple of weeks to practice or, getting to know one another. Like, we showed up and we started playing. So just trying to figure out how to connect with my catcher and get to know her on a personal level, and so I could trust her behind the plate. And so once I figured that out, it helped tremendously, but figuring out how to do it at first was tough.
What was it like when you got to put on your first professional softball jersey with the Cleveland Comets?
Oh, that was exciting. That was very exciting. It's something that, brought tears to my eyes, because growing up, it's every little girl's dream now. And I got to do it firsthand. And so, super supportive of everybody that was there. And, it was just another surreal moment that I got to, say that I was a professional softball player. And that was a lot of fun. And of course I was nervous but also very excited because, I had worked my butt off to get to that point. And so the biggest thing was just making sure that I was enjoying the moment and having fun with it.
What was it like going from, obviously, what was some of your typical game days like with the Cleveland Comets?
So we sometimes we would travel on the same day we would play, and some days we would travel, and that would be our off day, and then we would play the next day. And so, my first year with Cleveland, it was with the Chinese national team, and so we had to do a lot of interpreters and translators for us to be able to communicate with each other. And so we also would go, they love to shop. And so we would do a lot of shopping. Even on game day, we would stop by on our way to wherever we were going. And then once we got to the complex, it's just trying to get what you need to get done. And so whether that was a workout or conditioning, they usually had some food there. We would get our own food before we got there. And then it was just trying to make sure that you got in what you needed to get in. And that was another thing, transitioning wise, going from college to pro, is you had to coach in college, planning everything out, telling you what your pregame was going to look like, and what you were going to do. And then you go into pro ball and it's pretty much just, what do you guys need? And so going from being so structured in college and then going into the professional league in the NPF, that was a big adjustment as well, just trying to make sure that I got what I needed and I didn't just go along with the flow with everybody else. If I needed to get some ground balls in, or if I needed to get a lift in, then I was able to go get that in, and not just doing what everybody else was doing, because, they didn't, it was just different. And so different people need different things. And so just trying to figure that out as well, was a challenge. But like I said, I think it's allowed me to grow and improve and just be a better individual.
What was it like for you? Obviously, whenever you got drafted, you went straight into the deep end instead of slowly getting obviously into it. You got thrown into it and quickly on a flight that next day for a game.
Mhm. Yeah, so whenever I got drafted, we were still in the middle of college season. And so I think I got drafted in April. I can't really remember. I think it was around April is when I got drafted. So we had the rest of April and the whole month of May. And then we ended up going into postseason. And so, after I got drafted, I had some time to prepare for it a little bit. But I don't think I could have prepared for the way, you just don't ever know what you're getting into. And so, but I was super excited. But the biggest thing for me is that was not my focus. I wanted to finish strong in a Texas State jersey and go as far as we could as a team into postseason. And so I got to celebrate a little bit, and then it was focusing more back on being present with Texas State. And so and then I got to fly out and see my husband for a week after postseason. And then from there, I flew and met the team in Chicago. And like I said, I flew in that day, and then I got ready for the game. And so the whole day, it was just a little bit nerve wracking, and just all the jitters and just trying to figure out, what to expect. But we got there, and Cleveland was super welcoming, and they were awesome. And just making sure that I got what I needed and making sure I didn't need anything else. But like I said, that was a day that was super exciting, but it was also very nerve-wracking going into it.
What was it like going from obviously the NPF to obviously Athletes Unlimited?
Yeah, so of course I had my expectations playing in the NPF for 2 years, but I will say that Athletes Unlimited blew my expectations out of the water. Athletes Unlimited has done a great job at treating us women as professional athletes and making us feel like we're professional athletes. And I don't know if I could say the same for the NPF. I definitely am grateful for the opportunity that they provided for me. But Athletes Unlimited does a lot of things the right way. And I'm super thankful for that. Going into it, I didn't know what to expect to an extent, just going from my expectations off the NPF, but I was blown away last year with all that they did, especially in the middle of COVID, and we couldn't have fans in the stands. And then this is the first season, so I expected a lot of kinks, but they did a phenomenal job from the beginning, and just treating us like professionals. And it was a great moment that I had a lot of fun last year, and same thing going into this year. I didn't think that they could top it, and they're just continuing to improve and grow the game, and they do a lot of stuff, like I said, the right way, and I'm super excited for the future of professional softball.
What was it like obviously getting drafted and signed with Athletes Unlimited?
So I remember I was in Florida with my husband, and he was doing his baseball thing, and um, I got an email, and it was from one of my former teammates from Cleveland, and she had asked if I wanted to do this league called Athletes Unlimited, and I was supposed to still play in the Cleveland and the MPF that summer, and then Athletes Unlimited would start in the middle of August. And so, I was super excited about it. At first, didn't know have a whole lot of information about it. And then I get into just trying to figure out what this league is about. And so, of course, my mentor through a lot of stuff is Kat. And so I sent her an email, and I forwarded it to her, and I asked her what she thought about it. And, she said she thinks it looks like a great opportunity, and I should try for it. And so I was one of the first ones to sign on last year. And then come to find out, she of course signed on, a couple months later, whenever the Olympics were postponed. So going into it, I didn't know that we would get to play together, and then, it all worked out the way it did. And so it was truly a blessing, but I had Kat right there with me trying to decide, the next move for me, and that kind of stuff. So as always, I'm super thankful for all that she's done for me as well. And, she's been a huge mentor in my life. And so I couldn't have done it without her. But I remember I was really excited finding out that I was going to go play with Athletes Unlimited again. And like I said, they just blew everything that I had expected out of the water when I got there.
Of course, in your first year and even now, what has it been like with Athletes Unlimited, knowing that you get drafted each week to a different team versus obviously when you were with the Cleveland Comets, that was your team and that was your team only?
Yeah, so going back, like I said, I was super thankful for the MPF because that allowed me to get to know my catcher and figure out that, what I needed to do to be successful. And so now going into the Athletes Unlimited, where I'm throwing to a new catcher almost every week, I think if it wasn't for the MPF, I wouldn't be able to handle that like I did in Athletes Unlimited. And so, yeah, it's a little bit challenging because you're with each other for a week, and you, like, by the end of it, you're like, oh man, we are a great team. You're meshing really well. And then you look up and you're like, oh, we get drafted again tomorrow to another team. So we got to do this all over again. But it also gets to, you get to meet a whole lot of people and get to play with a whole lot of people. And you get to build those relationships because you're on the team almost with everybody by the time you're done with the 6-week season there. And so it's challenging a little bit, but then I think the captains, both my years in Athletes Unlimited, have done a good job at making sure that we're all on the same page, and we use our 3 practice days to make sure that we're ready to go by the time that we start games. And so it's really, really cool. I think that the setup that Athletes Unlimited is, I think that's unique, obviously, but I think that it works and it's a lot of fun. And, it's not just about winning either. I mean, you're trying to get points and you're trying to win every inning. And so that's just really cool. And I think the outline of it is really, really awesome.
What was it like the first time you got to put on the Athletes Unlimited softball jersey?
I was excited because I was one of the 56 last year that got to do it for the first time. And so I know that those people have put in a whole lot of hard work to be able to make sure that worked. And so it was a bittersweet moment for all of us. I think just being able to be one of the first ones to participate in this league was cool. And like I said, I think it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed that moment a whole lot. And just, I didn't know what to expect going into it, and they did a phenomenal job from the very beginning.
How does it feel for you to be a part of course, the inaugural season of last year, starting with the Athletes Unlimited?
It's truly special. Just being able to be one of the first ones is something that, that I take to heart, and they believed in me whenever they were trying to get the first season together. And so, I'm thankful for that. But too, we put a whole lot of time and just trying to make sure that the league was, going to be able to work. And going into it, we had no idea that it would take off the way it did, but there was no doubt, or we were just super excited to get on the field and playing, especially with that long year off for a whole lot of sports. We were just happy to be able to play and do something that we love. But like I said, I was super excited that I got to be one of the first ones, and it was truly something special.
What is it like, obviously, during the game day, playing, obviously, with Athletes Unlimited and playing multiple games instead of only playing one a week?
Yeah, so in the NPF, we played almost every day. So we were playing sometimes 6 games a week. And so that was a lot going from college where you're only playing 3 in a weekend, going to playing quite a few games in a short amount of time. And then going back to Athletes Unlimited, that was that's the way it should be, in my opinion, on playing games. So we have time to recover and rest and recoup by the time that we start games the following week. And so the outline that they have, with the practice and the games and the off day and all of that, I think it works, and I think they've done a good job at that. Just trying to make sure that us athletes have enough time to recover and just be ready to go again the following week. So they do a good job with that.
What are some of your game day routines and rituals like preparing for the game?
We normally would get to the field a couple hours early, probably around 3. It depends if you're home or visitors, but roughly around 3 hours before the game. And one of us, the home team, would take offense first. So we'd take some BP out in the dome, and then we would switch and visitors would. So in between that time span, there was food for us. So we got to eat. And then if there was a game, if we were the second game of the day, then usually the first game was in the dome playing on the TV. So a lot of us would watch that. And then we just kind of got what we needed to get in. There was a bunch of snacks and drinks. And like I said, they would prepare a meal for us there when we got to the dome that day. And then, probably close to an hour before the game, we would head out to the dome and get stretched and get going and get ready for the game. If you were pitching, you knew when to start, and we'd take a little bit of defense. And then we would they would meet at home plate, and then we'd have about 15 minutes to sit and hang out, play hockey, talk to some fans, in between whenever the umpires met, and then at the start of the game. So, that was pretty much every game day. It all looked the same. So once we got in a routine, it was easy to stick to that routine because not a whole lot changed going from week to week. So we had plenty of time to get whatever we needed to get in, and make sure they did a good job of making sure that we were fed and got anything that we needed. They were all super helpful and just ready to serve us or give us what we needed before we needed to perform. So like I said, they just, between the equipment and the training facility and all of that, they've just done a good job with it.
What was it like, obviously, being a professional athlete and obviously getting to interact with your fans that look up to you as professional athletes?
That's just a heartwarming moment. Just being able to give back, because back when I was 7 or 8, I was in their same shoes. I have a picture with Kat when I was, I think, in 10 and under, and I'm in my softball uniform and she's signing autographs, and I got to take a picture with her. And I remember how special that moment was for me. And so whenever I'm out on the field and I see the little girls that are running up with balls or posters or jerseys, that I was once in their shoes, and I remember how special Kat made me feel. And so, I try and make the little girls feel that special as well. And looking back, they're the next generation of softball. And so Athletes Unlimited has done a phenomenal job with making sure that dream stays alive in those little girls, and that they can dream and achieve that whenever they get to our age, if they still want to play professional softball.
What is it like knowing that obviously when you were a little girl, Kat was playing professional softball and now she's still playing it and you get to play with her?
Yeah, so Kat obviously has done a phenomenal job with growing the game, and her accolades is something else to talk about. But she's just making sure that that dream can stay alive, and she's done a phenomenal job at doing that over her extent of playing. She does a lot of stuff the right way, and she does a great job at just being a competitor. She is truly a fierce competitor, and and I got to experience both sides of her, the fierce competitor and also the mentor that I need to talk to if more on a personal level. And she's, just like I said, she's truly something special to me. And we could have not been here playing if it wasn't for her and that group that sailed off with professional league and just continued to grow the game. And so now it's, our job as the younger generation, just to continue to grow that, to give the youth that dream, and then make sure that that dream is still alive whenever they're our age. And so, like I said, I could talk about her all day, but she is truly something special to me, and kudos to a great career. And, I'm super glad that I got to be a small part of that journey along the way.
Who are some people that you look up to in the softball community?
Obviously, Kat. When I was growing up, it was all about Kat Osterman and Jenny Finch, and it's probably because I'm a pitcher. Was a pitcher as well, and so I looked up to them. And I also looked up to Stacy Newman and Crystal Bustos and that Olympic team, because we got to go watch them a lot when they were on tour preparing for the Olympics that year. And so that was really cool and really special that I got to play with her, looking up to her all those years. But then you also have, Sis Bates that I look up to, who is a phenomenal softball player, and Nadia Taylor. When I was in middle school, I went to a Texas camp and I met Nadia there, and she's just been a close friend ever since. But it's just, we're all sisters, and it's really cool that Athletes Unlimited is able to give that opportunity to where no matter the age or what position or what college you go to, they just bring us all together and allow us to play with some of the best softball players in the world. And so I think that's truly something special, is you
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free